to the Bold Moves podcast. We are so glad to have you with us today. This is episode number 30, which seems significant. What was going on in your life when you turned 30, Corey? I had just been fired. How about that?
Oh, you had just been fired?
Yeah,
wow.
That's what 30 is for me.
Actually, I was just about to get fired.
There's no way that's true.
It's 100% true. So there you go.
Hold on a second. I had just been fired. I was feeling pretty low. You were about to be fired. Kristen, what was going on in your life when you turned 30?
I just had my first baby.
Okay, real question. In life as we know it, Kristen, would you rather go through the process of being fired, or would you rather go through the process of having another baby?
Oh, another baby, easy. I'm such a people pleaser. If I got fired,
that's real.
I would.
Okay.
I can't.
That's good
What
to know.
a weird what-if scenario you just painted for us.
We're off to a great start. This is fantastic.
What a day.
I've been fired one time, and it still wrecks me to think about.
Really? She would rather go through the childbirthing process than be fired again. Okay, that is good to know. I don't really have that comparison, so that's good to know. It was rough.
It turns out rough. I've never actually given birth, but I probably would choose just getting fired again. I don't know.
What a great start to this
What
podcast.
are we talking about today?
Who knows? We're talking about things that have eternal significance. And it's probably a good segue to say, happy election day. It's happening. Yeah. We all get to vote. We live in the United States of America. Most of us, I guess, that are watching or listening to the podcast.
Probably.
If you live in the United States of America, today is election day. And I guess it's a good opportunity to focus on the fact that, well, the things that are happening in our country, they matter, they're important, you should vote. The bigger picture is that we live temporarily in an existence that is actually eternal. And so it's good for us to focus on the things that we live through in life that have eternal significance, and for us to focus on those things. So I think so often we get caught up in the temporary, we get all worked up about it, we get our priorities out of whack. It happens, especially in politics.
The year 2024 will probably end up in history textbooks somewhere. Yeah. But probably not that much.
Probably not. And yet we're all able to live this life that we have, these limited amount of years that God gives us to invest in something that has eternal significance.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And today, as we talk about that, we're actually interviewing someone who is amazing, Tina Mitchell, who leads the CrossBridge ministry that we've partnered with for a long time now down in Nashville.
Yes.
And what they are doing there is absolutely extraordinary when it comes to the idea of investing in something that has eternal significance.
Yeah.
So I would say, without any further ado, let's just give it up for what will probably be way more than 5 good minutes.
Of course, yes.
With an amazing guest today. Let's give it up for Tina Mitchell. We are so glad to be joined by Tina Mitchell, who spearheads everything at CrossBridge. Tina, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're glad to have you. We were just talking about how we've been wanting to have you on this podcast for a really long time. Like, I know we're only like 20 some episodes in, but we've wanted to talk to you for a long time. Tina, what you guys have done there in Nashville is pretty extraordinary. And it's having an eternal impact. It is making a huge difference, not only in the lives of people in your community, but I mean, this is not just temporary stuff. This is eternal stuff. And I just want to have you share the story. Like, how did that begin in your heart? What did that look like? Talk to us about that journey, because it's pretty extraordinary what God has done through you and your leadership there in Nashville.
Well, thanks. I always love talking about CrossBridge, and I moved to Nashville in 2002 and went to work on the Tribeca campus.
Yep.
And so that put me on Murfreesboro Pike in Nashville.
Sure.
And if you've never been to Nashville, that's probably not the first place you should go if you come down here. Murfreesboro Pike is a major thoroughfare in Nashville for drugs and prostitution.
Okay.
And there are 2 large projects located there, government housing called Napier and Sudicum. So, and then just a lot of homeless population out on the street. So I drove by that every day. And God just put, just a passion in me to do something.
Yeah.
At that time, the church where I was working, they really weren't doing any outreach in the area, and there was so much need. And so I got involved in the neighborhood in a program called Project Project Safe Neighborhood. It was a grant they had gotten to combat gun violence.
Oh, wow.
And so through my involvement with that, that was the first thing that got me into the neighborhood. And then seeing the immense need down there, just ultimately felt like to start a separate nonprofit was the way to go.
Yeah.
And so I launched CrossBridge. And also just through being able to go into the jail and do jail ministry at that same time, just begin to see how it all comes together, that, addiction, incarceration, that I saw people coming back over and over and over again to the jail. And then how, if we're going to work with folks on that, we've got to go back a lot further. We've got to start when they're children if we're going to break this cycle.
Yeah.
So just knowing that CrossBridge, we have a passion to work both restoratively and preventatively to end. That's what we're all about, ending cycles of poverty, addiction, incarceration. And so we actually even did a neighborhood survey where people identified that the greatest need they had was programming for children. So our preventative program is called Kid Power. We started with 25 little second graders in 2010, and we added a grade every year, and then ultimately went down and have first graders too. So we have first through 12th grade now, work with about 100 students, and some of our very first second graders are now college students and work for Kid Power.
That's awesome.
That is so cool. That's amazing.
And so start going through to the jail, just begin to see a need for housing, because when people get out and we say go back to the same people, same playgrounds, then you get the same behavior.
Right.
And so we wanted to have recovery housing. Started with 6 beds at a little house just outside the neighborhood that I told you about. And 6 beds for men. And now we have 84 beds for men and women.
That's amazing.
For restoration house.
Like crazy.
So awesome.
Yeah, trying to break these cycles.
So let's talk about that for a second, because what you're doing and what you're doing successfully, I feel like there's a lot of people that have tried to do this and not had near the success that you guys have.
For sure.
I mean, talk about like the difficult moments, maybe some of the aha moments, because you have led the charge on this. And I think, Tina, what I love about you is you are relentless. Like you are not going to stop. But like if there's a problem that you've been asked to solve, or you feel like you've been called to, you are not going to stop chasing after that. So like, talk to us, because that could not have been an easy process. I mean, what were some of the hurdles that you had to overcome, especially coming at that like through the lens of being a Jesus-centered program? Like, let's talk about that. I'm very curious about that. What were some of the big hurdles?
Well, I mean, definitely being Jesus-centered we believe that's why it works.
Absolutely.
What makes us different for some other programs. But, having already having the access in the jail through ministry in there, that helped us to meet the people that were going to be getting out and needed a place to go. And we were already ministering to them, in Jesus' name, sharing the word of God with them, seeing people come to Christ, and then telling them about the opportunity at Restoration House. And I think that what really, really makes the difference, and we're really quick to share this with people up front. We're not the program for everybody, because we believe in something called boundaries. And we have very strict, loving boundaries. And we tell folks we do the program one way, and that's our way, because our way works. And if their way worked, they wouldn't need us. So just being upfront with folks ahead of time, I know that's kind of just out there.
I love that. I'm going to use that line on my kids, Tina. That's fantastic.
We tell them, let us think for a while, because it's your thinking that got you here. All those kind of
That's so good. That's so good.
Some people need that honest conversation. Like it matters. I think it's lacking in our culture today. And some people just need that. Really? That's a verbal slap upside the head is what that is. Like, come on now.
Likewise, if they get here a couple of days and say, whoa, I'm not going to follow all these rules, that they agreed to before they got here, then we say, just go on with your plan and let us know how it works out for you.
That's amazing.
It doesn't usually work out very well. But anyway, the fact that, folks were not resisting the faith-based part of it, because we were already working with them. And again, just being really upfront. And we're really blessed in Tennessee that with the funding that we're able to receive from the state, you're allowed to even provide what they call spiritual support groups. And it's just obviously you can't force people to join a church or believe a certain thing, but that wouldn't be like Christ anyway.
Yeah.
We don't force anybody to believe it. We just present it. So we've even had Muslims graduate from our program because all we ask is they're willing to come and be respectful and be open to what they're hearing, but certainly they don't have to accept it. But definitely what makes a housing program like this successful is really clear expectations and boundaries and good supervision. And I think a lot of people, I don't think church folks in particular, but some people do start programs like this thinking they can make money.
Oh,
and
interesting.
if you do it right, you're not going to make any money.
Sure.
Because you got to staff it and have supervision.
Yes.
And, provide for the needs of the people, because the folks who come to us, they come with nothing.
Right.
Very seldom do we have anybody come that has anything more than their little mesh bag from the jail that has, they're wearing the clothes they were arrested in, and that's it. So there's a lot to provide for them so that they can be successful. And it just costs money.
What I love about what you guys do, though, Tina, is that not only are you helping them gain victory over their addictions, but you're also helping them get a kind of a reset. You're allowing them to hit a reset button for their life, because you're stacking the deck for them so that when they graduate, they've got some money in their pocket. They can go start living on their own and have a fresh start. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big part of it.
It is, and it's really necessary. So many people, they need that geographical change in order to change. Because if they just go back to those same things, and just like in any state, there are cities or rural areas that are just inundated with like meth or different things. So when they go back to the place where they used to use, then they're not going to be successful. So coming to Nashville, or even being in a different part of Nashville from where their criminal activity was taking place, it is a new start for them. And we like to say that we provide everything they need to be successful here, except the really hard part, and that's doing the hard work of recovery, working on themselves, dealing with the issues, the core issues that led them to addiction to begin with. We can't do that for them, but we can provide, safety, community, all, down to the very basics of food and clothing and bus passes until they can get on their feet. But then they do the hard work, and it is hard. It's the hardest work people will ever do. And for all of us, I know like CrossRoads Recovery, y'all talk about those hurts, habits, and hangups. And that's what this is about, getting to those 100%. Root causes. And that's tough work.
It is. That's the hardest work. Okay, so two things. First of all, in just a second, Kristen, I know you've been excited to have Tina on here, so I need you to be able to have whatever question you want to ask Tina. That comes up in just a second. But one thing I want to let you do, Tina, before we get much farther is there has to be a story, one or two stories where you go, oh, this is a moment that this is why we do what we do. This is a celebration. This is a life that was changed. What are a couple names and faces, stories that come to mind that you just celebrate? These lives were changed because of what we're doing at CrossBridge.
Well, the one that really comes to mind when you just asked me is Chris. Chris now operates our recovery services. He came to us one time, went all the way through the program and graduated, but he just basically did what he had to do. And he would tell you he really didn't do the spiritual part. He really wasn't established in his relationship with God. And so when he left, even though he wasn't using, he went back to some of those old behaviors, moved in with a woman who was using. He was going to help her quit. Instead, he said where he ended up, I love the way he tells the story. He said he ended up in the back of an ambulance with Narcan shoved up his nose because he died. He overdosed and he died.
Oh my
goodness. And when they brought him back, he knew what he needed to do. So he came back here, and then this time he did it right, that was willing to change everything. And he just, obviously, he became a committed Christian, just, really just a great man of God. And so now he leads all of Restoration House.
That's amazing.
And since he's been here, he got married. His wife also works in the recovery field. And she's a graduate of CrossBridge Restoration House too. But when she was using, she lost custody of her son because her parents just came and got him. And just in the last 6 months, they regained custody of her son as well. So
that's
just,
amazing,
that's
Tina.
really death to life right there.
Yep.
And,
No question.
it's like that
Literally.
for all of them, So many of them say, I wasn't living, I was just existing. But this is really like he was dead and now he's alive, both physically and spiritually.
That's amazing.
So just one other thing is just something that happened yesterday, that because of where we're located, which is where we need to be,
Yes.
but I don't think it's a chance. I don't think it's a coincidence, but one of the staff members went outside and they saw a man sitting right in front of our building and he had overdosed.
Wow.
So he had already stopped breathing. They got a light pulse.
Oh my goodness.
But because he's right here, I mean, how much Narcan do we have in this building? A lot. So they rushed out there. It took 2 doses of Narcan to bring him around.
Oh my
called
goodness.
911. And so literally another life saved out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't know what he'll do from here, but I mean, just like, it's like God putting us where we need to be.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was, it was just, just like yesterday, just thinking, had Andy not walked out there when he did,
Wow.
a couple minutes later, we would have found a dead body.
Yeah. Would have lost him.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and it just renews our passion for helping people that are caught up in this, because it really is. We tell them you're going to get locked up, covered up, or sober up.
Wow.
People also, and I've heard people say a lot of times when you get in recovery, buy a black suit. And they told me this when I started working in this field, buy a black suit because you're going to go to a lot of funerals. And to people who are in recovery, they tell them, if you don't work the program, we'll just bury you in it. And that's so harsh, but that is the reality of which we're living today because of fentanyl. All it takes is one time and somebody can die.
My goodness. That's crazy. I mean, to hear you tell those stories, it's just crazy. And yet at the same time, it's incredible because what you're doing, because you're willing to be there and doing what you're doing, it is changing lives in real time. Those are incredible stories of life change. I love that. That is literally making a difference for eternity right now in real time in lives of people who are desperate for the hope of Jesus. Kristen, what do you got? You got Tina right here. What's the question you got for Tina?
Well, I admire Tina. She's just the best. But I actually had the same question and I was like, darn it, you're talking. But anyway, no, even better. I thought about it. I'm going to spin this, Tina.
There we go.
You have, like CrossBridge has been in existence for how long?
Since our first program started in 2009.
Okay. So from then till now, how has God worked on you or changed you investing in these people? Because, we interact with people that like maybe, Corey, I don't know if you're on hard drugs right now, but I'm just kidding.
I didn't expect, just to be clear, I didn't expect that question to be asked of me today.
Thank you for that,
Kristen. We may interact with these people, but what's that look like when we invest this time and into the people? Like what have you seen happen in your own life?
Yeah, I mean, for me, thankfully, God did some real serious work on me before I started this. I come from a background of what I would call churchianity. I grew up going to church, but not really having a personal relationship with Jesus. And then when I did, I accepted Christ in a Nazarene church that I would say was very legalistic. And so that was the brand, the type of Christianity that I had. And it's a bondage all in itself. A lot of Christians are addicted to control. That's our addiction. And so just trying to control everything, control people, my heart was in the right place, but I thought that God cared about a lot of stupid stuff that I don't think he cares about now. And so I was focused on those do's and don'ts and worrying about whether or not somebody's going to go to heaven or hell, when really our purpose is to bring heaven here, now,
good,
not later. And so, and that's teaching from Bill Hart, by the way, who's a valuable partner in this,
we'll have to talk to Bill at another time. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the Lord's Prayer is thy kingdom come, thy will be done where?
Yep.
On earth.
That's
like,
right.
We're not supposed to be spending all our time just worrying about whether or not somebody's going to heaven or hell, or what we can do and just get as close to the edge as we can, but still go to heaven. No, we're supposed to be focused on bringing heaven here.
That's good.
And so God did some work on a lot of work on me and freed me from the bondage of legalism just in time and I'm sure if I hadn't been willing to really go through that change, he wouldn't have led me to this ministry.
Oh, yeah.
Because I couldn't have been effective. I would just been busy judging people, worrying about whether or not they had a tattoo or 2 holes in their ears, because I cared about that stuff. And now I know that's just ridiculous. So if anybody's watching and you're trapped in that, please give me a call, because it feels so good to be free.
That's a good word.
Free to do what? That's why I love the partnership with y'all is Jesus said you can wrap it all up and love God and love people.
Yes.
And so now I'm free to do that without trying to fix people. I don't have to be the Holy Spirit.
Yes. Let him do his work, right?
I wasn't up to the task, And so now I can just love people. And again, like I said earlier, we have loving boundaries. But just letting God do the work in their lives. So that's something that changed before I even started. But I'll tell you something magnificent that happened in my life because of this work. And that's the change in my daughters. Not really the change or just the formation. Because our kids were around this growing up. And now they are the most compassionate people. Some of the earliest work that I did was with the homeless, a program called Room in the Inn, where 14 homeless men would come to our church. They'd stay the night. They'd get dinner, breakfast, and leave with a sack lunch. So we'd get our kids up there, helping set up the cots and all. And so we would tell them, we said, we'd say, you remember when we moved to Tennessee, it took 2 26-foot trucks to move our stuff? Yeah. I said, well, these guys are about to walk in carrying everything they own.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Everything they own. And so I think that's so important that our kids growing up be exposed to compassion, to realize that not everybody has it like they do, my kids didn't grow up affluent or anything, but they sure didn't have to be afraid to go outside and play because somebody might shoot them. And that's the reality for our Kid Power kids, that they will tell you, I am afraid to play outside. So, God said to Abraham, I'm going to bless you so you can be blessed. He said, I'm going to bless you and you will be a blessing. We are blessed to be a blessing. And for those of us that are just so incredibly blessed, we couldn't even list it. That's for one reason, to be a blessing. And so I love having all 3 of my daughters involved in this work, funding this work. And I should have said earlier about a story. One of my daughters actually came to Restoration House. She was 19. She was not a model participant in any way or trouble. But she would tell you today that it changed her life. It helped her to grow up. I mean, again, that's something in my life. Would my daughter even be alive today? Because when we found out the problem she had, and she was medicating over having been raped, and we didn't even know. But she was taking anything she could get her hands on. So she went to treatment and then she came here. And so, that helps me relate to parents too. When you get those calls sometimes and say, if my kid doesn't get help, they're going to die. And I'm like, I understand.
That's right,
There's so much pain and there's so much hurt that people carry with them. And we just don't know. And I think as we come to wrap this up, this has been so good, Tina. I can't help but think of the words of Jesus in Luke chapter 5. We use this for years here at Crossroads. And the paraphrase of that we see in the Message is Jesus says this: who needs a doctor, the healthy or the sick? And he says, I'm here inviting outsiders, not insiders. An invitation to a changed life, changed inside and out. And Tina, I love it because what you're doing is you are the front door to that invitation, and it's changing lives and it's making a huge difference. So Tina, we're honored to be in partnership with you. We love what you're doing. Keep at it. And thanks for taking the time to share all of this with us today. It was fantastic.
Absolutely. We thank God for you guys and what you're doing and that we get to be a part of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I think our greatest days are yet to come, and blessings on you. Blessed to be a blessing. I love that.
That's right.
Thanks again, Tina. It's great to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks. Y'all have a great day.
I always enjoy talking with Tina. She is so passionate about what they do at CrossBridge, and what they're doing there is truly incredible. That was a great interview.
It's life-changing stuff. But I just want to address something because honestly, my head has been, I don't know where my head has been ever since. You asked me if I'm involved in doing hard drugs, Kristen. And so I just started doing a self-examination, and I have a question. Is Zyrtec a hard drug? Because I use Zyrtec every day. I just want to be clear.
How many do you take?
You're not supposed to take the whole pack, you weirdo.
Oh, no. Just one a day. Just to be clear.
His sinuses are great, though.
I just didn't know. I interact with you, and I just want to make sure.
Oh, man.
That was a great moment. It was well played, Kristen. It was well played. I love it. I know. In the grand scheme of things, talk with someone like Tina. She is such an inspiration and is truly just relentless in pursuing her purpose and investing truly in things that have eternal significance. Yeah. And I just am always encouraged talking with her, seeing what they're doing there. It just reminds me that, man, we have a temporary life, limited amount of time that we all live, and yet we have the opportunity to invest things that are temporary and things that actually have eternal significance. Yeah. And so I think the challenge today is let's be bold in investing in things that have eternal significance and just make sure that we're claiming our purpose and living into the calling that God created us for.
Absolutely, because it matters, right? I mean, that's the point is we don't want to waste our time on this earth. We want to make sure everything that we do has eternal purpose, eternal significance. And I mean, just like we started off the episode by talking about today's election day, and so it feels like it's a heavy day or whatever. But really, life goes on. There's so much more at stake than just one day on a calendar. Let's think about other things, bigger things.
Yeah. We are blessed to be a part of a family when we put our trust in Jesus that is worldwide and that is eternal. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that Jesus is King. And I think we just put our trust in him.
100%.
Well, listen, I think it's been a great podcast, great conversation with Tina. I just encourage you to lean into that eternal concept and know that God has created you for something greater than what you can even see or imagine. So lean into that. Go with the strength that you have. Lean into the opportunities that God has given you right here and right now, and invest in things that have eternal significance. Yep. When it comes time to make your move, guys, be bold. We'll see you next time.